Go for it.
I'm gonna do the intro and then what's up, y'all? My name is Ian Edwards and welcome to the Soccer Comic Rant. Yesterday was the final season of the Premier League, game week 38. So we're gonna cover that. Our sponsor for the show is onthevalleyapparel.com, and if you go to onthevalleyapparel.com, go to their website, you'll see tanks, tees, hoodies, and sweatshirts for men and women with hip hop, soccer emblems, some logos on the front. They have some dope stuff there. Use my promo code Comic Rant, you get 20% off. So again, go to onthevalleyapparel.com. Use my promo code Comic Rant, you get 20% off. This podcast is available on YouTube at Ian Edwards, and Ian Soccer Comic Rant Edwards on YouTube, and it's available at allthingscomedy.com, where there's a host of comedians, including Bill Burr, Bert Kreischer, Danish and O'Neill, Kate Quagley. They all have comics. They're all comics, and they all have podcasts on the website. And if you go there, Al Magical is there. It's just too many comics to name, but really good comics. And it's a great hub to go if you want to laugh and just learn or not learn anything. Go to allthingscomedy.com. I got two great guests. One is, look at Jimmy smile. One is Jimmy Condrad. You might know him from, he's made the MLS Best 11 4 times. And he's a U.S. defender. And he won the MLS Best Defender in 2005. He's played for America in the World Cup. And he's also captained America. And Jimmy is now currently coaching in the USL. And it's good to have you on, Jimmy. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I'm really thrilled to be here, and I'm excited to get into it. Just dig into some fun stuff.
All right, let's do it. And also we have Martin Harris. He's originally Polish, Spurs fan. He writes for 442 magazine and covers sports himself. And he's been in a bunch of movies, including The Hunt. And he's a voice on a ton of video games. Give it up for Martin Harris, y'all. So weird saying give it up when we're just talking to each other.
Well, I wanted to start clapping. I felt like I should start clapping there. Like, yeah, all right. I'm excited for Martin.
Yeah. That's how good I am. That's how good I am.
I got the energy.
How about
good.
boo, Martin?
I think, Ian, you missed the most important part of the intro for Jimmy, that he played professional football in Poland, you know?
Oh, no, I skipped that on purpose.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just, how did you go from you're in the MLS.
Yeah.
And then it feels like, I don't know, Poland is a detour, but I'm just using that term, not to go from the MLS to Poland and then back to the MLS. Like, how did you were on an MLS team, right? And then how did you end up in Poland?
So I went on loan. There's a device that's used in most leagues around the world where you can go on loan and play for another team, but the team that you still play for has your rights. They still pay your wages and all that stuff. So whatever they worked out financially, I guess, was sorted out behind closed doors. But when at that time, it was in 2000. So there was only 10 to 12 teams in MLS at the time. And if you didn't make the playoffs, you got to sit at home for 4 months. There just didn't have enough games.
Right.
So I had a Polish player on my team, Wojtek Krakowiak, who was the Herman Award winner at Clemson, which is the Heisman equivalent for college soccer. So very talented player. He's a little guy, though, very hairy, cute as a button. And he had set up this loan deal. I wish you guys could throw up a picture of him. He's super hairy and small. But
say his name again?
Wojtek Krakowiak. I'll probably have to spell it letter by letter for you.
Yeah, you probably do.
But he had set this up. He had a relationship with the manager at Lech Poznan, and they were looking for maybe other players because they were struggling at that time in their league. And so me and Ian Russell, another one of my teammates with the Earthquakes, we all three of us went over there and we played for 5 or 6 months. It was a good experience. And really the best part about that experience and why I think that most players, younger players, should go is because you don't get a lot of respect as an American when you are playing the beautiful game somewhere else, and how you fight that and how you deal with that and how you still maintain your self-respect without losing your emotion is a very good skill to learn as well. And you're not just fighting. It's not just opposing teams. You also have guys on your team that don't like you because you're probably taking a spot away from one of their friends.
Oh, damn.
So how do you learn to deal with that in a country that's very hard to learn the language, and a lot of them don't speak English? So it was very good for me in terms of my development, and I think it made me a better player. And I can't thank the players and staff enough for giving me the opportunity. And now I'm a proud former alumni of Lech Poznan. For a while, it was only me that had played in the World Cup, that had played for Lech, until Robert Lewandowski stepped it up.
Oh shit, that's pretty impressive, the way that you looked at it positively. Like, some people might look at that experience like as very negative, especially because I wouldn't even think that you're going to go there and get looked down on. But yeah, I guess that makes complete sense. Like, you're an American playing soccer. They don't even believe that Americans can play soccer, much less come to their country where soccer is like their number one sport, and take away like a player's spot on the roster. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. How did you like learn to deal with it?
Let me just add one thing to before Jimmy has a chance to talk. You know, it's funny because we met, actually. I interviewed Jimmy at that time when he was in Poland. I was working for a newspaper in Poland as a very young writer. And what's interesting, and I would kind of add my question on top of Ian's question, is that at the time, Lech is one of the biggest clubs in Poland, historically, one of the biggest clubs competing for titles. That was not their best time for them, but then they rebounded a few years later, and they had Lewandowski. They bought Lewandowski as a young player, and then they transferred him to Borussia Dortmund. But I would like to ask you this. Coming to Poland, where the atmosphere in the stadium is pretty crazy, sometimes even violent. At the time, there were a lot of times where the fans were fighting other fans during the games. How kind of was it a shock for you?
I loved it. And I say that only because I came from an environment in the States that you didn't see that. You never saw fans do that for any sports. I mean, maybe you'd go to the odd baseball game and a couple guys would be sloppy drunk and they'd be, no, man, I love this guy better than the other guy, whatever, that kind of crap. But this runs deeper. That type of animosity and anger towards other opposing fans over in Poland in particular was something else.
So in Poland, all soccer fans from every team is like Raiders fans, basically.
Yes, that's probably a good way to explain it.
All right,
so I've got two examples for you. One, we went to a big rivalry game. It was north on the coast at Gdansk. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, huge.
And a big rivalry game. I don't really understand. I mean, I understand they don't like each other, but I don't know to the extent of why they don't like each other. So we're taking our bus. We're away from home now, right? So we're entering, enemy territory. And we see this kid running to chase us down the bus. I'm like, okay, cool. This kid wants to say hi.
Mm-hmm.
And he catches us finally because we had to slow down. And he gives us the finger. And I was like, wait, this kid's like 10. Why'd you give me the finger? So I'm like, all right, cool. All right. So then we keep going. We get to the stadium and our fans had got there. 1,000 of our fans had gotten there maybe 2 or 3 hours before kickoff.
Uh-huh.
They had set up a fight against the Gdansk fans. And I saw guys shooting bottle rockets at each other. I saw chairs coming out of it. I saw like one of the biggest dudes I've ever seen, bloody, and he's crying. I'm like, what is happening right now? Also, this is awesome. So there's like me. I was kind of torn.
Uh-huh.
Another one of this was that we had to walk from maybe 100 yards from the bus to the locker room, which was like a very archaic locker room. It was like stone. They didn't make us feel welcome at all. And
like a scene from the movie Victory, like,
dude, so
like
bad.
A locker
Exactly like that. Yeah, it was bad. Like I didn't want to touch. I didn't want to go in the showers. I didn't want to do anything. It was just that bad. I'd rather stay sweaty the whole time. But we had to walk by these fans who had come early, who were already fighting our other guys, and based on how they made us walk, they could spit on us from up high.
Oh shit!
So we had to. I'm not joking you. We had to get up against the wall and walk like this up against the wall for like 30 yards.
Damn.
All the way up against it. And you could just see spit dropping out in front of you. I'm like, this is unbelievable.
Hilarious.
We ended up getting out of that game. We won 1-0 and we had to wait at the stadium for hours because it wasn't safe for us to leave. Yeah. Until like maybe they calmed down and go home and they just didn't want to, we waited them out. That's one story. The second one was we hadn't lost a game at home when I was there. And if you lost at home,
in Poznan, especially, yeah.
Yeah, if you lost at home in Poznan, you could not go out that night because everybody knew what happened, and they would essentially beat the shit out of you.
But there's a disco, yeah. There's a disco. They used to go like 50 miles outside of Poznan, so they knew there was one disco they could go.
Oh,
Right,
so
exactly.
where it was safe.
Yeah.
But if you won, everybody like free drinks. You could go anywhere. People are buying you food. It's amazing. I've never experienced something like that, Ian. Like, and I'd never seen it either in other sports. But one night we were up 1-0 with about 15 minutes left, and our goalkeeper, who was pretty solid, he gives up a pretty bad goal. And I remember thinking, God,
he does it to gear.
I don't know what happened here. Okay, fine. He gives up a bad goal. It happens, right? Everybody has a moment. And then he gives up a really bad free kick, and we lose 2-1 to this team. I think now, in hindsight, he was probably on the take, right, this player. Right. But the fans knew it too, that was just unacceptable. They climbed over the fence, okay? Because right now at this club at the time, it's just a bunch of old ex-players that are the security guards. Like, they can't move anymore, right? But this fence has barbed wire. So whatever, they get over the barbed wire. They chase this goalkeeper into our locker room and start kicking him and beating the shit out of him. And we're walking like, what is happening? The guy's in the he got kind of locked himself into a shower. People are he's crying, and I'm like, you do what you got to do. I can't. These guys are 5 times the size of me. You guys do what you're gonna do. It was unbelievable. So that Poland experience was unlike anything I'd ever been a part of, and something I'll never forget.
Mark, you didn't tell me Poland was such a sweet country.
At the time, yeah.
Why you're holding back? I would have visited so long ago.
You know what's funny? That after you left, Jimmy, in 2002, the fans kind of became in charge of the club. So they were doing security for themselves during games.
That was probably better, to be honest. Because the old guys couldn't do anything.
I mean, they're going to fight each other anyway. They might as well have a reason. Split it into teams.
Exactly.
That is a crazy experience. Did it throw off your game, or did it help your game, or like?
No, it helped my game. I got to see that how much the game matters to people, and that I got to be around people that enjoyed it and lived it as much as I did, and that there were people out there in the world that felt the love for the game, like the passion that I had for it. Also there were other opposing players who would punch me in the face, crack me in the ribs, step on my feet, all these types of things, because they just didn't want an American to be better than them at the game. And so I started to learn how to fight back. And I learned.
And this is in practice or in the game?
These are in games. Yeah. The guys, I think it was clear once I was better than maybe their friends and I could help the team, that went away pretty quickly. But playing against other teams and traveling to other areas where they did not like Americans being better than them, then that's the first thing you do. If you realize that somebody's better than you, you start doing things that you can control, which is like, I'm going to beat you up, I'm going to step on your foot kind of crap, because you can't outplay them.
And try to get in your head and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like that. Yeah, but I toughened up.
Yeah, you're lucky you were a defender. Because if you were like a forward American, or a midfielder, then it's easier for them to beat you up. It's a little bit harder to beat up a defender whose job is to beat you back up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I got an uppercut on somebody. I'd never swung so hard to hit somebody before because he punched me first.
Oh, right.
And he punched me in a game. Like, I wasn't looking at a corner kick, and he just smacked me when I started running. Mm-hmm. And then when I went to go chase him, because I was like, fuck the ball, I'm just going to go chase this guy. He went and stood next to the referee.
Oh,
I was like, all right, so this is how it's going to be played, right? So then I waited, because I'm a defender, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. He's a striker, and he's backing up into me, and I just went right from underneath his arm and just popped him right in the face. I mean, and then his coach saw what was happening and pulled him off. Yeah.
No VAR at the time. No VAR.
No VAR at that time. No.
I don't think they even care about VAR the way this game is being described in Poland.
Yeah, it was great.
Did you get a card for that, or?
No. I made sure the referee wasn't looking.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Smart guy.
Yeah. So I had to learn how to toughen up. It was great. I actually, just to bring it all the way back, it's important for young players to get out of their comfort zone. You have to learn how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that will really set the stage for you to have success when you're dealing with adversity later on in your career.
Yeah, I just have to add that, a lot has changed ever since that time you played in Poland, because at the time, Polish league was 98% Polish players. Right now, actually, there's more foreigners than Polish players in Polish league. So right now, to have an American player playing as a defender or as a striker wouldn't be anything shocking. Would be pretty normal, and I would say the experience would be also different. Also, there is video monitoring of the stands there. So there's pretty much no more hooliganism. You know, like the things you've described, they don't really happen that much anymore. Sometimes it happens around the stadium, and sometimes it happens at some games, but it's not as much of an issue as it used to be. And at the same time, when you were playing in Poland, those were the years of the highest corruption, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a huge affair, 2003, 2004, and then the referees started going to jail because the government took care of it.
That's so crazy.
And it's also cleaner. The league is also cleaner, but at the time it was very corrupt. So the fact that the goalkeeper could be paid to make mistakes doesn't shock me at all, because that was a normal thing at the time.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys cleaned it up a little bit, Martin.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. So here's a question. It's like, you talked about going to Poland and you loved the craziness and the passion of the game, people fighting each other, because the opposite is you playing in the MLS, especially around the beginning of the MLS, right? And how were the crowds in the MLS? And it's like, not as passionate maybe, or maybe passionate because of the people who were there were really into the game. So it's like, did you go from like a passionless crowd base, or a crowd base that was less passionate, to this violent one? Or which one did you prefer at the time?
Are you trying to claim that my mom wasn't passionate about my game? Okay.
Yes. Your mother never chased the referee.
No. Well, I'm trying to harken back to my younger days.
Yeah.
No, she's very sweet. I love my mom. But I would say that it was marketed different at that time. I feel like when the league was just beginning, it felt the safest choice was to market to soccer moms and to bring their kids to the game. So it just had a different feel. And as the league has evolved, you're starting to see now more of those supporters groups that I think are associated with the teams. And so, yes, there's not maybe that element of violence that we saw in the rawness and the raw emotion of the Polish fans.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely emerged. And I think the league has actually found a nice sweet spot between still creating a place for those soccer moms and for kids to come out and enjoy the game, but also giving the freedom to the supporters groups to be themselves and to show off their personality for their favorite players, and with the tifo and all that good stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's just different. You know, I'm not, I mean, that's Eastern Europe in some ways. You know, I've been down to South America. I've been to Central America for World Cup qualifiers. I've been to the Caribbean, at Trinidad and Tobago. You know, they've been calling you at 3 a.m, you know, try to wake you up when you're sleeping, or they're playing music outside your window to throw you off. Like, they're all trying to gain an advantage so that their teams can win. And I just love that part of it. I love that there's that type of gamesmanship, that the game matters that much to people. Right. That's what I love. That's what I'm drawn to. Now, obviously, I don't want anybody to get hurt, and I don't want anybody to get spit on or any of that stuff, or I got bags of urine thrown on me and batteries thrown at me and all that type of stuff. Oh, yeah. But they probably thought it was throwing me off. I was like, this is the best. You know, that's so fun. It's the best. It's the best, Ian.
You're playing with urine, stranger urine on you in the middle of a game? Like, you've had to do that?
Yeah. They threw like bags of, like, Ziploc bag of pee. Yeah.
Damn, Martin. People are passionate.
That's not even in Poland. That's down in Central America.
That's in Central America?
Yeah.
Damn.
You played with Mowglik, right? You played with Mariusz Mowglik, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you know that he's a football agent now, and he brings Polish players to MLS.
Does he really? Good for him.
Yeah.
Gotta tell him I said hi.
Yeah, I will.
So now you're coaching in the USL. Is it the USL? Am I saying
USL League 2. So
League
technically
2?
Like the 4th division in this country.
Like, what is the difference? Like, what did you learn? What's changed? Like, as a player, right? You thought about football one way. And as a coach, it comes to you another way. Like, what is the biggest disparity that you thought as a player that now applies as a coach?
I think it's how players absorb information. So I could be saying the same thing, where I am saying the same thing to 20 people, and they're all absorbing it differently. So it's just trying to understand how they're absorbing it and how that's going to play out on the field. How efficient can we be? And can my vision actually be realized by these 20 players who are absorbing this information differently? So that's been a really good learning experience, I would say. For me, at this level, my only goal at the end of the day, obviously we want to win games, but I think winning is a byproduct of doing the right things, right? I'm trying to get players developed. I'm trying to help them learn. A lot of them look at me and say, yeah, I want to be a pro, but then they don't follow through with that their actions. And that's been a learning curve for me as well, because then I can see this guy has the tools to be a pro,
right?
But he's not putting the time in, or he's not putting the type of care in, right? In terms of this touch needs to be good because of X, Y, and Z. He knows he's good, and it's like he's too casual.
Just relies on that, being good.
And I'm sure we all know people, right, that just had a shit ton of talent, and then you're like, what did you do? You just blew it because you didn't put that time and that care in to really take those steps. And there's a lot of reasons why those guys don't, right? Whether it's the fear of expectation or pressure. So there's a lot going on there. So that's been a learning curve for me as well, is how do I basically relate to the players that weren't like me as a player? Because my talent wasn't dribbling. My talent wasn't heading. My talent was commitment. That was my talent.
Oh, okay.
I was willing to put the work in and deal with adversity. And if people told me no, or if I told me I wasn't good enough, I'd ask them, how do I get better? They'd tell me what it was, and I would just make sure I would never have a weakness in my game.
Right.
I'm not surrounded by 20 of those types of players. I'm surrounded by maybe 3. And what do I do with the rest of the 17? And I don't relate to them in the same way, because they tell me they want to be a pro, but then they don't act like it. I'm like, I don't know what to do with you then if you're not acting like you want to do the things that are necessary to become a pro. And a lot of it is, I need to show them what that is. I need to show them what it looks like to be a pro, and hopefully we can move a few of them along. But it's been an incredible experience.
That sounds dope. So you watched the Premier League, right?
Of course.
I just want to ask you, and you had on a great shirt the other day. Not that this shirt you got on is bad, but you had on a great Man U shirt in one of your videos. There's
another one over there.
Yes, I like that shirt. So that's a good year. But I guess the question I wanted to ask is, when you watch the Premier League and what you just described as a coach, is there a player in the Premier League that you feel, and it's the end of the season, so we're just going to discuss it overall, that you feel has the talent to be good, but you feel is not processing the information or not doing as good as they could be?
That's a great question.
Thank you. You hear that, Martin? It's a great question.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of the players that maybe were underachieving. I would say, if you just want to look through if you just want to look through the Manchester United lens.
Whoa.
I just think Daniel James was one that they had high hopes for, that started off pretty brightly and then maybe faded off a little bit. And maybe he set the bar a little bit higher because he started off so well.
Right.
I think we look at Anthony Martial. Yeah, Anthony Martial is now starting to emerge, but it took him a little while, right, to kind of get there and to assume the responsibility that I'm the guy, And I think we saw it before with Memphis Depay when he was at United before he left back to Lyon, and now he's kind of found that confidence in Lyon, and maybe he'll come back to the Premier League. But yeah, those types of guys where they're like, it's cool. I mean, I love watching Martial now because he's like, you can see that I am that guy now, where it took him a little while. Like, I don't know if I want to be that guy, or this is all subconscious, right? Or in his body language, maybe he wouldn't be as consistent as he is now. He's one of them. Marcus Rashford's another. Lingard might be a guy that dropped off a smidge.
Lingard, yes.
But I think maybe due to injury, and then not really finding a way to get back into the team, always hurts the confidence. So, yeah, there are a couple players on every team we could get into there.
Yeah.
I will add a few names from the back of my head that there were high hopes for those players that they kind of disappeared. First name is Januzaj.
Yeah.
Second name is Wilshere.
Yeah.
And Ibe. And Ibe is another example.
Oh, Jordan Ibe, who's at Bournemouth. And I also want to put on that list, who was I just thinking about? It just left my mind, but I had somebody for that. Oh, I always talk about him, Theo Walcott.
Oh, yeah.
He had a good career. He had a good long career. He was at the 2006 World Cup, so it's 14 years of a career. I mean, I wouldn't say that he didn't have a good. He did have a. Do
you feel like he fulfilled his potential?
I don't.
Even close to it, exactly.
I think it was just overblown. I think they overrated him as a 16-year-old. I think he had a career he was supposed to have. He worked hard. He didn't do anything stupid in his life. I don't think he was properly evaluated as a 16-year-old. Sometimes if you're 16, you're already playing for a good club, and you're 17, you're going to the World Cup. People think you'll be the next Messi, and it might not just be the case. Maybe you just grow faster,
So you think he overachieved? That's what you're saying?
No, he properly achieved.
He properly achieved.
I like that.
He was an Arsenal player, top Arsenal player for a long time.
Yeah, but you're a Spurs guy, so you're gonna hate on. You're gonna. I can't even trust anything you say about Arsenal. So, so let's talk about, since we're talking about Arsenal and Spurs, like, Jimmy, how do you feel Spurs finished the year? And
That's a tough one. It's a tough one. I'm a fan. Yeah, I'm a fan of Mauricio Pochettino. Obviously, I think he deserved a little bit more respect than he got for getting the team to the Champions League final, and that takes it out of you. It takes it out of the team, and they didn't make any significant changes really heading into the season. I think they got Ndembele, who maybe didn't pan out the way that they thought when they first purchased him. Lo Celso is starting to come around, and I think in a meaningful way. So they've got a couple pieces, but it was always going to be hard to replicate that success, and it's clear in their drop-off in the league that it was going to be take its toll. You know, you bring in Jose Mourinho. I don't know if that was the best hire. You kind of know what you're going to get with him. I think in some ways his tactics are a little bit archaic. I don't know. I feel like the modern game has kind of moved past him a little bit, but the guy still wins big games. Like if it's a big game, you know, his teams are ready to go, and they usually come out with a result. It might not be the prettiest thing, but
or he'll tie a big game like he did yesterday,
right?
You know, just to get into the Europa League spot and celebrate it like he just won the Champions League.
You gotta admire, you know, the amount of self-congratulations he gives himself. With Arteta and Arsenal, I like Arteta. I think that's a good hire. I think he was ready at that point. And now he just has to maybe mold the team into his image. They got to fix the back four. That's really where it starts. I think Chelsea's probably in the same boat. They can go buy all the goddamn wingers and midfielders they want, but if they can't, you know, have a back four or a goalkeeper that can make saves, it's going to be a lot of 4-3 games. Now, they might be one of the most exciting teams to watch moving forward, but they're not going to win anything.
I think
maybe Chelsea fans should do to their goalkeeper what like Poznan fans were doing.
They should just go beat him up and kick him while he's in the shower while he's crying.
I feel like with Chelsea just buying all these offensive players from Germany, they're trying to turn themselves into Kevin Keegan's Newcastle team.
Oh man,
it's like, what are you doing? Like, your problems are right behind you.
Yeah,
you know, you just played Caballero in your last game. It's like, now don't buy habits. You don't need a habits. It's like, don't waste the money on that. Put that money on a goalkeeper.
I mean, listen, I put out a tweet that said exactly that. I wrote, "Dear Chelsea," and I tagged them. You know, just save your money on Havertz. You've got the guys. You've already got the horses. You got Ziyech coming in. You got Werner coming in. Pulisic has obviously emerged as a serious threat. Mason Mount is very good as well. You got Hudson-Odoi, Loftus-Cheek. They got the guys. Going forward, it's more about shoring it up. Why waste 90 million on 70, 80 million on Havertz when you can maybe pay 50 more and go get Oblak out of his goalkeeper deal and at the Letty and get the best goalkeeper in the world, then go buy Koulibaly or De Vrij from Inter or whoever and just shore up that back four and go get a proper left back. They need a left back. And then you start to put those pieces together, and then you're going to potentially compete or at least be on the heels of Liverpool and Man City. But without a proper back four, Arsenal's in the same boat. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, like right now, Chelsea is where Liverpool was 3 years ago.
Great point.
You know what I mean? It's like you have to fix the things that you need fixed, and you can't, like, Liverpool did not buy anything in a position they didn't need. You know, they even bought a goalkeeper and it didn't work, and then they got another one. They just kept on doing it until it worked, and that's what you have to do. You have to work on the things that you have that you need the most. You know, you can't just fill your wardrobe full of shit that you don't need. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What are you saying about my sneaker collection? What are you talking about? I love my sneakers.
I'm just saying, how many feet do you have, Jimmy? That's all I'm saying. Just a question.
I think Tomori has some potential to be a good defender, but they probably should sign someone like Vertonghen, who was let go by Tottenham after a fantastic service for our club. He'll be a good sign for you guys. He'll be a good sign.
Just for 1 year, right?
Yeah, why not?
For like 1 or 2 years, why not?
Why didn't you guys sell him and get some money for him? Like
his contract expired.
Yeah, it's expired now, but like last year or something. Like, especially, I mean, you don't know the future, but like Pochettino left, and then your boy Mourinho barely used him, and then now he's just gone for free. You could have got
but he's an older player. Older center backs are not necessarily expensive players on the market. Not
really.
You know,
have you seen what Koulibaly's going for? I would never buy Koulibaly now.
No,
I wouldn't,
he
yeah.
didn't have a good season with Napoli, but
I would know. Napoli was horrible this season, but going back to Mourinho, you know, like I thought about it a little bit because I also criticized him on last couple of podcasts. But the truth is, when he came to coach Tottenham, Tottenham was 14th in the table, and with Mourinho, they're actually making top 4. If you count points from the first game he was coaching, like throughout, we would have finished 4th. You know, so he actually did a decent job. Let's see.
We would have finished 4th if the season was that short.
Yes. We would have finished 4th, yeah, if you count.
And the season is not that short.
You'll base on it. I think it's points per game average. Yeah, points per game average.
It's an indication that he did a good job, not a great job, maybe a good job. Now, a couple of things moving forward, which gives me hope because I want a trophy. We didn't win a trophy in a long time. 2 out of 2 seasons in the Europa League, Jose Mourinho won Europa League twice. Once with your team.
Yeah, right.
That's a good thing. Hope he can win a Europa League next year. Hopefully he can win FA Cup next year, and hopefully he can finish top 4. If they'll buy right, and they have to buy right, they have to buy another center back, and they have to buy a supporting striker, someone like Llorente used to be. They need a guy like that.
They should go buy the guy from Wolves, Raul Jimenez.
Oh wow, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean he's amazing. I mean I think they valued him at 90 million, which is a lot. I think if you could maybe get in there for 60, 70, because he's 29, I think.
Oh, 29.
So you get like 2 or 3 years out of him. I mean that's what they need. But what I'll say this really quick. I'm worried about the center backs because I think there's a scarcity on them. There's not that many out there that are good. I think defending's a lost art, mind you. But every big team right now, especially in the Premier League, needs one. You got United could use another one because Lindelof. Whatever you think about him, I mean, I think Maguire got better as the season went along,
right?
And then Chelsea definitely needs an Arsenal, Tottenham now with Vertonghen leaving. I mean, all the big clubs minus Liverpool, even City's looking for one, right? Because Otamendi, let's be honest, is not very good, or at least for what I think Pep wants. I mean,
no, you're right.
It's tough. It's tough, right? So it'll be interesting to see. I think there might be a bidding war and maybe get some defenders that become overpriced. But I would be looking at Italy. I'd go get De Vrij. I'd still go look at Koulibaly, but because he had a bad season, you might be able to get him for cheaper.
I would buy Ake from Bournemouth.
Ake, that's a good one.
He's a solid player.
Yeah.
I don't believe in him, man.
No, you're not buying what he's selling.
Nah, yeah. I just think everybody's hoping Ake is the next Van Dijk, and I watched Bournemouth play a lot because they were a fun team to watch because there's gonna be goals,
right?
And he's plays on a team that gives up 60 goals a year. And I know it's not just on him, but I've seen some of those goals happen around him. I just don't believe it.
Sometimes transfer when you're a good player and you play on a bad team, and then you start playing for a good team, sometimes you make a huge progress, on a good team because you're surrounded by much better players.
Right.
And it gives you much better motivation because it kind of, when you're on a bad team, and you don't have players at your level around you, it kind of can get your motivation down. But then when he gets to a club where he has to show his value, where he has to prove his value again, that can elevate his game as well.
Yeah, but like Klopp did that. Like he went to Newcastle, he got Wijnaldum. But when I watched Newcastle the year they went down when Wijnaldum was on the team, I was like, that guy's a good player. He's better than that team. And then when I watched Mane on Southampton, I was like, that guy's better than that team. And when I watch Ake, I can't say that.
Okay, I'll give you an example. It's I think a very good example. When Hull City went down, they went down with Robertson.
Yeah.
And nobody really paid attention that much to Robertson. I mean, he was a good player, but nobody was going crazy over Robertson.
Let me answer your question. Did you notice that he was a good player when you saw him on Hull? He
was a good player, but I wouldn't put my bet that he'll be one of the best defenders in the league at the time. And one of the best defenders in the league. I
mean, listen, your point can go either way, but I just don't see the Ake thing yet, As a defender, Jimmy, what do you think of Ake?
I like him. I think he has a lot of the tools. I think maybe we're talking about intangibles, and what I think with Van Dijk in particular is, as you mentioned, the way he raises the game of everybody around him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Aki has that.
Right.
Or maybe doesn't have it consistently, right? And I think that
Mhm.
comes with age and maturity and an understanding and communication and all that good stuff. But again, I think he has it in him. It's just a matter of whether it can come out in a really meaningful way and help lead a team.
Right.
And a lot of that comes from the coach. Like the manager gives you the chance. Like look at Maguire. Maguire wasn't very good, and then he got the captain's armband, and then he started playing well. Why is that? Because you know that you're the guy, and you have to organize and bring everybody else around him. You can't just be worried about yourself anymore and how I'm performing, right? You have to kind of come outside of your body and be a leader. And that forced him to be a leader. And I thought that was a really bold move that Ole Gunnar maybe doesn't get enough credit for, was that by giving him the captain's armband, Harry Maguire stepped up and became like 3 times the player. Another guy, I'm actually looking it up, Thiago Silva, I think might be free, leaving PSG.
Right.
Very, very similar to Vertonghen. If I had an opportunity to bring in somebody like that with that type of experience, that could elevate a lot, especially young defenders. Chelsea might be able to.
How old is he, Thiago Silva?
I think he's 33.
Yeah.
But why not? Why not for a year or two? I mean, if you're going to bring Vertonghen in, it's the same argument you can make for Thiago Silva.
Yeah, although Vertonghen is a little bit taller, I think, and that also plays a part.
He's 35, Thiago Silva.
Damn.
35, yeah. He's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Because he was on Milan, on a good.
Yeah, it was an AC Milan team. Yeah.
So good.
Let me ask you 2 things though. But first, I make a point about Van Dijk. I remember Van Dijk when he played for Celtic Glasgow, and they played Champions League qualifications against Legia Warsaw. Legia scored 7 goals in 2 games, and Van Dijk was absolutely terrible at the time. As a young center back. And he still managed, to become Van Dijk, become maybe the best defender in the world right now. But my 2 questions are, I was listening to the Guardian's weekly podcast, and I was a little bit surprised. They were making a point that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did a decent job, but he is technically one of the worst managers in the league. And if you have a chance to hire Pochettino to win a title for Man U, you have to do that. You have to. That's the moment to make a change. So that's my first question. Second question to you, Jimmy. Don't you think
hold on.
Maguire is a little bit slow-footed for like a top center back?
So which question do you want answered first? Normally people ask questions one at a time. So like, do you?
I just didn't want to forget about it.
So wait. The second one you said Maguire's flat-footed. Is that what you said?
No, it's slow. That he's sometimes slow.
For sure.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I think I'll do the second one first. So Ian, I appreciate that clarification. Maguire would probably need to be paired with somebody who can cover that space in behind and has the ability to have good recovery speed, as we like to say.
Yeah.
And so you have to. It's nice. It's fine to have that contrast. I wasn't the fastest guy, but I usually got paired with a guy that was a little bit quicker and could cover for me if needed. Usually, I tried to make sure I was anticipated to read the game. With regard to your first question, my counter is that Pochettino never won any titles either. So even though he got to some finals and he had some success with some teams, and it felt like was on the precipice of really leading Spurs to their first trophy, he never actually did it. Ole Gunnar might not have the same type of experience, but I feel like at this point he's such a club legend, and I think he's got the backing of Sir Alex Ferguson. I'd just be hard to remove him at this point. When he did get top 4, he still hasn't really purchased the guys that he wanted. There's still a lot of Mourinho guys on that team. And, I think you give him a transfer window another season for sure before you make that move. Pochettino, I feel like, is going to have smartly. I feel like the guys that back off for maybe 6 months and just wait to see what happens end up having the pick of whoever they want to manage. Because I feel like Pochettino is linked with everybody, Juventus, AC Milan, all these big clubs.
I heard he just turned down Barca.
Yeah, well, because he played for Espanyol, which was the rival of Barcelona, so I can understand why he
said it like 5 years ago. The only team he'll never manage ever is Barcelona. Which
is amazing.
Might be his only title that he ever gets a chance to win. Good job, Pochettino.
I love that.
I want to address your Solskjaer question. Is it so? So what was the main point of it again? Because Jimmy just answered it, but I thought of something that I kind of forgot it.
No, they made a point that he's not the guy to win a title with United.
Right, and they bring in Pochettino, right? Yeah. So I feel the same way about Jimmy. Pochettino has never won anything, and I myself, as a Man U fan, I did want Pochettino when we had a chance to get him, but because I wanted him to do what Ollie eventually ended up doing. So now I don't feel like I need to fire Solskjaer, to hire somebody to do what Pochettino is already doing. I wanted Oli to rebuild Man United and get a young team and grow and head towards winning some championships and some cups. And I feel like he's made the right buys. Like, he got 2 defenders. Like, Maguire's not worth $80 million, but he's worth something. And that's the only thing. It's like, it's his price tag. I don't think he'll ever be able to live up to his price tag. But if you look at our defense, like, it's done a pretty decent job. So Maguire's been taking a lot of heat, more than he should. But
because of his price tag, yeah.
Because of his price tag. But he is actually, like, great with the ball, which you need.
And he can score. And he is a scorer too.
Well, he's got to work on his scoring because he's missed a ton of headers. like it's every time a ball goes over the bar from a corner, like, yeah, that was Maguire.
No, I like Maguire. Like I said, I think his was a mental shift, you know, taking on that responsibility as a leader. I thought did a lot of good for him and the team. And I really feel like a captain more often than not should be probably a center back. Maybe I'm biased, or a CDM.
You sound biased.
Or a goalkeeper, like somebody that can see the whole field, right? They can really get a good idea of the lay of the land, and you can let the attackers be themselves and not worry about having to be a leader. Unless they're, you know, they're clear cut like a Messi or whatever. They got to be the captain too.
Right.
What I'll say though is another thing that I think Ole doesn't get enough credit for is the emergence and consistency that you're now seeing from Rashford. And you're now seeing from Martial in particular, who seemed a bit mercurial at the, you know, in ways where, God, he'd have 3 good games in a row, and then you wouldn't see him for 5 games. You know, like he wouldn't make an impact. And now I feel like every time he steps on the field, you're like, man, is Martial scoring 1 goal today, or is he scoring 2? You know, like you just know you're going to get that consistent production from him. And I think that goes down to Ole, at least in my opinion, or maybe it's a time of the maturation of Martial as well. Maybe a nice
it could be
coalition of that, but.
It could be good timing.
It could be good timing. It could be a whole bunch of things. But I don't want to discredit or not give credit to Ole for not being a part of that revolution and evolution of Martial. Now, can he do the same thing? Can he now go get a Jadon Sancho? I heard that Manchester United had almost a €100 million bid turned down by Borussia Dortmund. They want him to pay 110. I mean, what's 12 million if you're willing to pay, you know, 100 at that point? So I think they'll probably work that out. I think they'll get Jadon Sancho. Again, I mean, you have this emergence of all these guys. He obviously will fit in the team, and you'll find a place for him because he's going to sell a lot of jerseys, and you got to be on the field. And obviously, he's a super talent.
Right.
But similar to Chelsea, I mean, how many of these guys do you need when you have other holes that you might want to spend that money on instead?
Well,
so I don't know.
I think that's a hole we need to fill.
That's true.
Like, I think that's I feel like if we during this run we had a starting 11, but we only felt we had a starting 11, we could not deviate from it.
Yeah.
Right. So I watched a lot more Borussia Dortmund games just because of the shutdown, and Germany was the only league going. And you can play Sancho on the right or left. He switches. So sometimes because Bruno's not going to be able to play every game, and so is Pogba, but we'd like to have a combination of somebody else creative who could probably slide into that spot. If we don't buy another attacking midfielder, if we have the front 3 that we have now, but if we have an extra guy, then we could maybe move Rashford around, slide him down into that attacking spot, or just one of Daniel James. Is it Daniel James or David James?
Don't forget that Alexis Sanchez is most likely coming back, and
I forget. No, I want to forget on purpose. There is no don't forget.
He's actually been really good for Inter Milan after the break. For whatever reason, he's been excellent. But
he scored 2 goals. I don't know if that's
he's set up a lot though. I mean, he's been active. In fairness to him, but yeah, I don't know if that's going to be your savior. What I'll say is you signed Matic to another year, which I like. I think he's probably a good leader in the locker room and a good role model for the younger players. But he's not a guy you can rely on to play 50 games a season. That's a hole for me. I like Fred in sometimes, but you know, he's not an N'Golo Kante. He's not a Wijnaldum. You know, he's not one of those type of guys. Maybe not yet. Maybe he can grow into it.
Yeah.
People forgot about McTominay quickly, right?
I haven't. I say we don't need, people were talking about, I was just watching the United stand, they were talking about getting Declan Rice. It's like, you have a McTominay. McTominay actually comes into games and scores sometimes. Just play him. We don't, we need an attacking midfielder, an extra central defender, backup right back, and maybe a right-sided player. We can get a right-sided player that can you could switch around, then we don't need the attacking midfielder. And then but listen, we have to account for the injuries. And again, on top of what people think about Ollie, like he's, like you said it, Jimmy, like he's doing things that I wanted Pochettino to do. He's growing players into mature, reliable professionals. And that's what we were missing. You know what I mean?
We didn't even bring up Mason Greenwood, who excellent player and will continue to grow and be even more influential as he gets older. You know, I mean, honestly, thinking about a front three of Martial, Rashford, and Sancho, or even with Greenwood, right? I still feel like maybe if you had a chance, and I know you guys got rid of Romelu Lukaku and he went and banged in like 25 goals in Italy, but if you could get a number 9, like a proper one that Martial and Rashford can run off of, or Sancho can play underneath, or you know, Greenwood could come in and be kind of your spot super sub or whatever. God, I don't know who that number 9 is. I mean, I'm thinking Raul Jimenez because I said him earlier from Wolves, but somebody like that they could run off of a bit. They can make him more dynamic, but I don't know. Those are the big choices.
Here's the thing: like 2 changes changed the season for Man U. 2 changes in the starting lineup. Used to be James and Lingard, and they were replaced by Greenwood and Fernandes. It's just two changes, and changed completely the season for United.
That's funny. That's a great point.
Yeah. But that's the thing.
About Sancho, though, because I think that it will be a battle between a couple of clubs. I think he's gone. I think Borussia wants to sell him. They just signed Jude Bellingham from Birmingham, which is pretty incredible story because he's 16-year-old and he had his number retired at Birmingham. Nobody can wear his number, and I
got to go back and watch some old Birmingham games. Like, what was he doing?
Wasn't he captain as well? Like at 16, he was.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Google after this, like Jude Bellingham. Like somebody has to have put together a compilation for me to see how good this kid was. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to go look at compilations, go look at Camavinga in France. He's a CDM, and I can't think of the team. Maybe Rennes, I think he plays for Camavinga. Eduardo Camavinga. Dude, that kid can play. Oh, my God. Is this dude? 17, and he is.
Oh, shit.
I could watch compilations of Camavinga all day. I mean, I'm coming from a defensive standpoint, but the way
like Makalele, right? Makalele type.
Like Makalele, yeah, he's so good. That every big club is looking at this kid. I'm sure Manchester United is well aware of him, and I'm sure all the fans are too. But if you could get a Camavinga,
I'll take it.
Go look him up, dude.
I'll take a cup of that,
dude. You're gonna be mad that I brought him up because now all you're gonna be thinking about is Camavinga.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Listen, I had to go through that when we wanted Fernando, like Bruno Fernandes. Like I was screaming for like a year. Let's get this guy.
And, you were.
Yeah,
sure.
I had to wait, but it happened eventually.
Yeah, and it made a big difference.
It made a huge difference.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to win the Premier League next year? Both of you.
I'll say Liverpool.
Liverpool?
Yeah.
It depends.
No.
I think you are 2 players away from winning a title. I think the City are.
Who's you?
United.
Yeah. All right.
I think you're 2 players away. I agree with Jimmy that, and I've said it multiple times on this podcast, I agree that you need a top striker, and that would probably make you a favorite to win the title if you have a Lewandowski up front.
Can I answer a question about
Lewandowski would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, someone like that.
Let me answer a question about that Lewandowski thing, because there also people are saying we should get Harry Kane. But the way we attack, right, and the way those guys play, wouldn't that disturb our attack? Because we have 3 guys that switch.
Not Lewandowski. Kane, I agree. Kane wouldn't be a good fit, but Lewandowski is an amazing fit because he presses, he changes position. He's so smart with his movement. I mean, he would score 30 goals.
I agree with Martin. I think Lewandowski would be a great fit. Harry Kane, maybe not as much.
So do you both know somebody at Bayern Munich that we could talk to about this? That's going to just give up a Lewandowski?
I don't know if he wants to leave. I mean, I think he had times to go to Real Madrid and just passed it up.
He's I think top 3 in wages right now. I think he makes like 25 million a season, something like that.
Yeah. It must be nice. But he's excellent. What a player.
Plus, he's 1 hour flight away from Poland, where his family lives. So yeah, it works for him. But that's not the biggest problem. I would say with a striker like that, United can win a title. if City improves their defense, because they have to, they probably have the best team on paper. Right. Chelsea, same. If they can improve their defense, they also would have a team to win the title. Right. And Liverpool is out there. So I think between those 4 teams, again, unless Spurs do something super crazy and surprising and surprise people, and Mourinho will prove that his second season is always that season where he does something, where he does magic, you know. So if
when he does magic and comes third,
I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take third. Sure.
I think what's scary about City is that when Laporte went down, that really derailed them, and they didn't have the depth. I mean, anytime, I love Fernandinho, but he's not a center back by trade, and so it really showed their weakness there.
Yeah, and if you move him, you lose him as a defensive midfielder, where he's great.
Exactly. So it's interesting if City for me only has one issue to fill, you know, and that's a center back, and if they can stay healthy, they're going to be in the running. I mean, losing David Silva too is a big loss because that guy's an excellent player. Liverpool has everything they need. It's just a matter of whether they can remain motivated. I don't think it'll be hard. Jurgen Klopp's very good at that, but City's only one player away, I think, or maybe 2. They have a couple good younger players that are coming up that should be okay, but they need that one solid name in the back that's some of the spine of their team. Everywhere else, all the other teams we're mentioning, they need like 2 or 3 players, and that might be a little bit harder to find.
You don't think City needs more defenders than just one?
Probably 2.
They do need more defenders. Cancelo didn't pay off really, and I'm surprised. He wasn't really very good for them. I thought he will be. But also I've heard an argument, I kind of agree with it, that they might need that actually as a center forward as well, because Aguero, older, more injury prone, when he's at his best, he's still great. But for example, Gabriel Jesus, on and off, not so dependable. You know?
I think Jesus will be all right. He was just on the bench for so long. Then you have this big break, and then you bring him back, and then you're like, go start. And it took him a time to warm up, but I think he's fine. I think he's always been fine, but Aguero took that spot from him. Like, I think Pep bought Jesus to take away that spot from Aguero. And because Aguero was not his pick, and Aguero adjusted to what Pep wanted, and he's like, no, this is mine. And he's kept Jesus on the bench. But I think Jesus is quality. I don't think if I was them, I wouldn't go looking for a forward. I'd go look for 2 defenders. Because until right now, I feel Liverpool, the only thing that will stop Liverpool is we won, and we're not into this anymore. This desire, Klopp can't bring that desire back. But they are the perfect team right now, still to this day, you know?
Yeah.
However, and they have players like Keita, who's gonna get better, who's getting better, and they don't have any age problems. The only age problem they had, Lovren, they just got rid of him. You know, they congratulated him out of the club. I think they congratulated Lallana out of the club. You know, so is it Lallana or Lamela? I always get
Lallana.
Nice with us.
Yeah. So I think Liverpool is fine.
Yeah, but
so right now, until all the transfer stuff is over, Liverpool.
Yeah, but I've heard an argument. I kind of agree with it. The City have the best player in the league, and on a day when everything clicks, they are the best team in the league. Like potential-wise, they technically have the most quality. Can I put on the field.
There's a stat I want to bring up. Like,
they scored like 100 goals, right?
They scored. That's the stat I wanted to bring. They scored 100 goals, but they lost over 9 games and had so many ties. It's like they are definitely defense is their issue. So
But De Bruyne was fantastic. I mean, he's the best player in the league.
Yeah.
He's
so good.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing, but you need defense, bro. And he gets injured sometimes too. Like they have depth, you know. I put them to come second, but they need defense. And speaking of,
who's their left back? No, I was just gonna say Zinchenko. Is that who their left back is?
Cancelo, Zinchenko.
Yeah.
And
they have somebody on loan in Germany who's killing it in Germany. They might bring him back. I forgot his name, but I was watching him. Is it?
Yeah, Cancelo. Cancelo didn't play too much. You got Rodrigo. Rodrigo's been pretty good for them. Big, tall defensive midfielder. He's young. Bernardo Silva didn't. I mean, they got a team, dude.
They got a team.
Oh, Benjamin Mendy. That's who I was thinking of.
Benjamin Mendy.
Yeah.
He made his mistake against when Pulisic went past him and scored a goal.
Yeah, bad defending there. I forgot Mendy.
Yeah. Their defenders are iffy. They're like a little bit better than Otamendi level, but Laporte is above that. He's what you want, and they got to bring them up to that level.
Yeah. Stones will be gone. Yeah, they just need some center backs, man.
Yeah, they can get some money from Stones.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they could. I mean, they could move Aguero. I don't think they will, but they could. Otamendi. Yeah, I'm just looking at their team on paper. Their team on paper is excellent.
It's crazy, right?
Aguero might just go to Argentina. That's what he said. He will eventually, you know. So
right.
Who? Aguero?
Yeah.
Oh, so and then we can talk about what do you guys think of David Silva and the play he was for the 10 years he's at Man City. He played his last game. It's crazy in front of like nobody, you know, but everybody applauded him off the field. And like, what do you think of like the David Blaine of English football?
So what I'll say this quickly about David Silva is I've become friends with Julian Lescott, who played for Man City for many years, and
Aston Villa too.
He did, yeah. And I asked him, who is the best player you've ever played with?
Right.
And he said David Silva. Of all the players that he played in the Euros for England. He played in massive games. David Silva was his number one. And he's like, David Silva didn't turn over the ball unless he just wanted to turn over the ball.
Right.
You did nothing to deter him. He always got to do what he wanted to do. And he said he'd never seen anything like it. And he's been around some of the world's best players. And I just think that maybe David Silva doesn't get the love and adoration that you think he deserves because when he went in with the Spanish national team, it was always Xavi and Iniesta. But David Silva was there hanging with those guys, if not better, according to Julian Lescott. And I'm going to go with somebody that practiced with that guy on a regular basis. And so I started to watch him in a much different way now that I have this information, or even go back and look at old compilations of David Silva. Unreal. The guy's unreal. And so I think he could probably help a team if he goes back to La Liga or wherever. Very similar to Santi Cazorla, where he went back and helped Villarreal and brought it along. The pace of the game's a little bit different in Spain. So I don't know. I think he's a terrific player, terrific servant for the club, and obviously he leaves with a lot of trophies and with a lot of respect.
Did you play with anybody that was like him in your career?
Or can you think of with him? I mean, I played with Claudio Reyna and John O'Brien was another kid who grew up in my area when we were younger. In the Pasadena area. He went over to Ajax at age 18, played in the Champions League with some very, very good players. He had Zlatan on his team when Zlatan was at Ajax. Excellent player. Fantastic. You could play him a ball in any situation. He could play out of it. It's unreal. So
how do those guys do that? Because I see that, like, it's like, how do you, on your first touch, not put yourself in trouble, create more space, but seem like you're doing nothing, and then create time where there is no time, space in a place where there is no space, effortlessly, without using physicality. And it's just like, how the fuck do you do that?
Listen, if I knew that, Ian, if I knew the answer to that, I would have played in more than one World Cup, okay? I think that's the simple answer here. I don't know. I think it's this real comfortability with the ball and just knowing how to a lot of it's body positioning, how you open up your hips, how you see things, how you open up your shoulder, taking a peek before the ball comes. That's really hard to teach players is to the pass is coming, but now you got to take a peek to see where you are. Your spatial awareness is something that those guys had. And then that calm to then under pressure, hold a couple people off and then make the right pass. So I got the opportunity to play against Real Madrid in the Bernabeu, and I got to go up against R9 Ronaldo and Beckham and Roberto Carlos and Zidane.
What team were you on then?
It was like this friendly all-star game.
Okay.
I won't tell you the score because you know what? The score doesn't really matter. It's about the experience.
Keep talking. I'll just look it up.
No, don't look it up. So it was like the last friendly game. Madrid has a friendly game before the season starts in La Liga, and they usually give a smaller club an opportunity to come and play. And that, unfortunately, that club fell through. And at that time, I think David Beckham was negotiating to come to MLS, and so he had a great relationship with Pepsi, and they kind of tied it all together. And I'll give you the preface here, or like the context. we found out on Saturday that there was an opportunity for like an all-star team to go, MLS all-star team to go over to the Bernabeu and play. And obviously us as players like, yeah, I'm in.
Right.
So we found out on Saturday it was a possibility. They booked our tickets on Sunday. We all met in Chicago Sunday night and then flew to Madrid. So we land the next day, right? It's an overnight flight. We're all jet lagged. We train right when we land. We go to the Bernabeu and train. And then the next night we play the Galacticos, who might be one of the best Real Madrid teams. I mean, we had no chance, dude. I mean, we could have been in Spain for 3 weeks and we probably still would have lost, but at least we would have been a better version of ourselves. Maybe competed a little bit better. But what an experience. I mean, to walk out the steps of the Bernabeu coming up and to see Zidane and R9 Ronaldo and Beckham and Roberto Carlos. You're like, is this a video game? What is happening here? You know, but just to watch Zidane play and to be out there and to see the nuance and subtlety of how he opens up his body and how he protects the ball. Right. Man, I've never seen anything like it. It's just, he made it look like art. You know, it was graceful. I play, it's like, it's not art, you know, it's like survival. This guy's just trying to survive. He's just trying to learn how to walk. So it was really, really fascinating. And obviously to go up against R9 Ronaldo, who's the best striker I've ever witnessed. And to see it up close was really something special.
That's so crazy.
I have to ask you, Jimmy, because before I forget, David Luiz, okay? Won everything, won Champions League, won titles, on a day like semi-final of the FA Cup, the best player on the field against City. Yet, one statistic, conceded 6 penalties this season. Damn. He caused 6 penalties. He had so many crucial mistakes leading to the goal. What do you think? It's a very conflicting player. What do you think as a defender of him? I
would say that he has a hero complex. I think all of us athletes have a hero complex. I think he's trying to solve problems too quickly. And sometimes that lends itself to being a little lazy, maybe, you know, where you don't want to take that extra step to maybe track somebody or to maybe anticipate him cutting back or whatever it may be. You think you're going to solve the problem quickly. He's seen thousands and thousands and thousands of plays. He probably anticipating before it actually happens. And now these players are getting a little savvy. Like he's going to dive in early, you know, and he hasn't really adapted to that for whatever reason. But I think it's because he's trying to make this really heroic tackle. He's trying to match his hair, right? His hair's got a bunch of flair and personality, and he wants his playing style to match it. I've met him in person. I admire a lot of his success. Obviously, there are some blemishes. You know, I was at the 7-1 game they lost to Germany in the semifinals. Crazy to be there for that. But and he's so sweet. He's such a nice guy. That I have a hard time criticizing him too much, but some of the decisions he makes is just, I wonder if he's a center back. You know, I feel like probably more of I don't say a box-to-box midfielder, but I think he needs that freedom to express himself, to go forward. And, you know, when you're a center back, you just don't, that's not your responsibility.
I feel like he's a CDM.
Yeah.
I also feel like Stones is a CDM.
Yeah, we could argue that too.
I feel like they make less mistakes with people covering them.
Yeah. And they can take those risks, right? They can try to maybe, like, I feel like when you see him defend, maybe this is the best way to say it, Martin. When you see him defend, he's defending like he's a CDM. Like where you kind of lunge and hope that you get it. And maybe you will sometimes and maybe you won't. But when you're a CDM, you have cover behind you, so you can take those chances. Right. But as a center back, you absolutely cannot do, you know, all the things that he's doing. And I just think a lot of it's just, some of it's being a little lazy because his defending is just hopeful as opposed to like just doing the job. He's resigned for another year, and which brings us to Arsenal problems. I mean, Arteta, he's from the Pep school, but with Pep, the one huge difference between Pep and Arteta now at Arsenal is that Pep could be like, you know, like Michael Jackson in this video when he goes to a store and he's like, buy this, buy that, buy this, buy that. You know, he could buy whoever he wanted pretty much, you know. Where Arsenal, they don't spend, and especially right now, I've heard they're not going to spend at all. They're not going to give him any money to buy anybody. So he's pretty much stuck with those players. If Aubameyang will be somehow convinced to stay another year, which he might not want to because he wants to play the Champions League, Arsenal's future doesn't look that great, right? No, I'm nervous for Arsenal fans. I think it's going to take some time for Arteta to really put his stamp on things. Once I saw the signing or re-signing of David Luiz, I understand and I think there's a lot of it that isn't seen, because I've seen David Luiz and because I've heard things about him in the locker room. I think he's a tremendous guy. I think he's super positive. I think his attitude and spirit are right where the club needs. And I think Arteta probably values that in some ways. I don't think you sign him in the middle of him having a really bad run of form if he didn't bring something like that to the table.
Yeah, right in the middle of signing him, right in the middle of a red card suspension.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So that was interesting timing. But yes, is there a different place for him to be? Is there a different formation that can lend itself? But that said, he had a great game in the FA Cup semifinals. He might have been the best player on the field. If they can tap into that version of David Luiz more often than not, then they'll look on it like it was a good signing. But yeah, it's interesting, and I think it kind of shows that they're trying to sign younger players to bigger contracts. They're trying to kind of keep their guys. Those are the cheaper options at the moment. They did spend a lot of money on Nicola Pepe, who, I think he's talented, but did he really pan out for the whatever 70, 80 million?
Did they really need him?
Did they really need him? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They wanted to buy Zaha, but I think the story was that Crystal Palace asked for 100 mil, and Pepe was only 75 mil, so they went for a cheaper option here.
I think
But they wanted to buy Wilfred Zaha instead.
Zaha would have been great. I would have paid 30 more million because he's played in the league. No disrespect to Pepe, who I think is good, but Zaha's experience. I mean, what I love about Zaha is that he puts Crystal Palace on his back and wins games. Like that type of quality and learning that type of experience is really something else. Now, Pepe obviously is talented too, but it was going to be a big jump to go from Liga to the Premier League.
I feel like Zaha is a version of the player that the question that I asked you first about, name players who have potential but are not fulfilling it. I feel like Zaha is in that because he's kind of inconsistent, and I feel like Pepe is his first year. He's kind of had an up and down first year. I think maybe next season he will be better. Like he has to be. Like I don't think Arteta's the type of coach. He's like there are non-negotiables. I've heard him say this, and it's all about effort. And I like when he throws those young kids out there, like a beehive of kids to just attack whoever has the ball and take it from them. It's like those are the non-negotiables. Like you have to go out and play hard, and then we get what we get from the game that way. So, I think Arteta is a good hiring. It's just that I don't think the board is going to financially be able to back him. So we'll see what happens. Martin doesn't think Arteta's a good hire.
I mean, only because I don't think he'll get the tools to. I think he's the type of a coach that needs tools to build his own team. I don't think for that particular setup he's the best hire. Although he did get some results, and he got them. He's definitely better than Emery. He's definitely played better than Emery. But my argument,
that's a big statement, man.
Yeah, no, but the argument I did in the past is that when you don't have that much money to spend and you're in a kind of club identity sort of a crisis, you go for a guy like Patrick Vieira, who's a club legend, like what Chelsea did. Like Chelsea was kind of in a difficult position with the transfer ban, and there were not too much expectations. Like they didn't expect to be in the Champions League. They didn't expect to be top four, and they finished top four with their local hero, Frank Lampard. So they went to a guy in a situation where there are not that many expectations. They went to a guy that identifies himself with the club, that is popular with the fans, and it worked out. So that was my only argument against Arteta, that I felt like it was Vieira's job that he took.
It would have been cool to see Vieira get the job, but I wouldn't want to even see Vieira. There's so many rare black coaches. I don't want to see Vieira in a situation like this. It would be so easy for people to be like, fire him. And it's like, but I'm against that. Like when they said fire Ali, right? I'm like, look what's going on. We got injuries. Their best player, Pogba, was out. We should have bought Fernandez. And then even like Man U fans, any fans of teams that are used to success are so spoiled. Like we tied with Southampton, and then we lost to Chelsea, but we didn't play. It wasn't a Premier League game. It was a FA Cup game, and we didn't play our starting 11, which we couldn't because we have to try to get into the top three, top four, which we did. But the fans could not take. They just don't want to. They wouldn't accept the wins that we had leading up to the loss to Chelsea. They were just stuck on this loss to Chelsea and the tie to Southampton. And the game Sunday, if we didn't get into the top three, every other win and everything before wouldn't have mattered. It would have been like, get Ollie out of there, instead of like looking at the growth of the team. So I would have feared that for Vieira if he was coach of Arsenal.
Talking about managers, I have to bring the Southampton guy, because last time we hired a Southampton, we did pretty well. And actually Southampton, since the pandemic started, they actually finished third in the pandemic table. So they were great in this shortened version of the season. And I like the way they play. I think he did a fantastic job. Yeah,
I think I just looked at a stat the other day, like from the time they lost 9-0 to Leicester, they might have the second most or the most amount of points in the league.
Yeah, they made 2 more points than Leicester since they lost.
Yeah, they've more than Leicester.
Yeah.
So they've done a good job. What about like at the bottom of the table? Did teams go down that you expected to go down, or what are the surprises about the teams that got relegated?
I'll throw a curveball here to Jimmy, and I'll make my statement, because that was one thing I prepared for here. When you fired Nigel Pearson 2 games to go, I don't understand, and that's the 4th manager you fired during the season. I know the owners are Italian guys; they're kind of eccentric, but I don't know if there's maybe a translation problem that somebody told them the championship. Maybe they thought they're gonna win a championship, but they're going down to championship. So I don't know if it's a linguistic problem, but the owners did everything to bring this team down, like really everything possible.
Yeah, I don't really understand that. I think maybe over the summer, over the next month, we'll get more of that story with Nigel Pearson. I was disappointed that Watford went down. I thought they had enough quality in their team to stay up, and they capitulated at the wrong time. But firing their manager, even if you didn't agree with him, you got to let him see it out at that point. There is that adage or cliche that when a new manager comes in, you kind of get that new manager bounce. Everybody's happy again.
Right.
That's usually not in a high pressure situation with 2 games left to go in a relegation fight. Maybe with 8 games left, maybe that would make a difference, but not 2. And they didn't win either one of those 2 games and got sent down. I was actually really impressed with Sheffield United. To kind of piggyback similarly to Southampton. Chris Wilder, the manager, is it's unbelievable. I mean, with no budget, with pretty much the same guys he had in the championship, they finished in 9th, only 2 points behind Arsenal. They lost their last 3 games of the season, so they could have theoretically finished higher than Arsenal and maybe even Wolves, and maybe even got into the Europa League. I mean, they were that close and kind of fell off, but really impressed with them. Now, that being said, they didn't score a lot of goals. They scored 30, 39 in 38 games.
Man.
Only gave up 39 as well. I guess that's what it is, right? If you're a team with that kind of mid-table, you're going to be in that mid-table purgatory, as I like to call it. But we'll see if they spend any money. I mean, I think like any team, they have to strengthen, but they have to be smart about where they scout and where they get their players. Very similar to Andy Robertson, who you brought up earlier. You got to go find those kind of diamonds in the rough that might not stand out for a mid-table team or a team that gets relegated, but if they just had the right guys around them, they could really blossom.
Can I just say something? Like for the teams that went down, like I don't know, maybe I wasn't paying attention in former years, but this is the first time for all the teams that went down and for all the teams that are in the Sheffield United like area or even teams above, like there are some great parts to be scavenged from the 3 teams that went down. There's so many good individual parts in those teams that you could probably get for really cheap or a decent amount of money. Like more than I've really ever noticed before.
I have to add a little conspiracy theory here, because there is a little conspiracy theory I'm hearing that we might not see the end of the relegation battle yet, because here's what happened.
I know you're talking
first
about.
Game, in the first game after pandemic, Sheffield United played Aston Villa, and Sheffield United scored a good goal. The ball went behind the goal line, and it should have counted. If it counted that way, if the ball went in and Villa loses that game, Bournemouth stays in the league. So there is a potential of having a lawsuit from Bournemouth suing Premier League for that one particular thing.
Or if in 20 other games, if Bournemouth had played more defensive and let in less goals, they could have stayed in the league. It's like you can't, it's like Bournemouth, you did things to get out the league. You attacked too much. You know what I mean? You never once yeah. So it's like I hope they wouldn't win that lawsuit.
Yeah.
It's tough. I think that's just one of those plays. I mean, yeah, it's unlucky and it's going to cost them a shit ton of money, but
yeah. And I think every team has a VAR play like that throughout the season where they should have won the game. If VAR was working right, they could have got a penalty, or a penalty would have been taken away against them. So I don't know. That's like going through the books of a Hollywood studio that claimed they didn't make money on a movie. You gotta, you know what I mean? Like that's what you'd have to do for the league. Like hire like somebody to go through all and add and subtract points. So it just is what it is.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be anything about that. But both, again, like all those teams, Bournemouth has great parts. Norwich has like several players that I like on them. And Watford definitely got players. You can get a Troy Deeney, you can get a defender or something out of them. If somebody who needed something, there's Sarr, Welbeck. If you want to pay a player a full salary for playing 5 games of the season when they're not injured, you could get him. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I like Sarr a lot. I think he'll probably get some interest. I'd be surprised if he didn't come back up or join a team in the Premier League.
Yeah,
he's a good player.
But since you guys were talking about Sheffield United, there's another discussion because one of the reasons why they conceded so few goals and had such a good defensive setup was their goalkeeper, who is a Man U goalkeeper, and there are voices coming out from pundits and analysts that he should be the number 1 goalkeeper for Man U next year, instead of De Gea, who didn't have a great season. We have to say that.
I'll jump in really quick about the De Gea situation. He is due to have a bad couple games every once in a while. He's put Manchester United on his back for many seasons. I know you still got to play and be at a high level at all times. That's part of playing for a club like Manchester United. I thought he did okay after that criticism. I think he picked up his game a little bit. I'm sure he's hearing the whispers. If you are going to move De Gea, though, then you should do it now while he's got value and not wait and let this thing draw out. Like, just go bring Dean Henderson in, let him start working with the back 4 as soon as possible. Make sure that everybody knows he's the number 1. I don't know if you bring Dean Henderson back, then there's like a little bit of controversy. I think that unsettles teams. It's always good to kind of know who your number 1 goalkeeper is. And they should just make that decision as soon as possible.
Has a team that you played on or coached ever been unsettled by like a goalkeeper situation like that before?
Yeah.
Like what was the scenario?
U.S. national team, right?
National team, we had Casey Keller and Brad Friedel, and the back and forth there with those 2 guys who you can make an argument both deserve to start. I mean, it was a tough one. I didn't envy the coaches in that one. There was an instance where at Kansas City, we won Open Cup, and Tony Miola was the goalkeeper. And then Tony got hurt before the playoffs that year. We ended up making it to the final, and we made it to the final kind of on the back of Bo Ashani, our backup goalkeeper, who had been Tony's backup for many, many years, but he just went on this crazy run of form. Well, we get to the final, MLS Cup final, so we're on the precipice of winning the double. And the coaching staff elected to stay with the hot hand with Bo. Right.
I think that's a good decision.
But Tony was healthy at that point, and this is a guy who'd been in 2 World Cups, had won an MLS Cup and a league MVP. I mean, this is Tony Miola we're talking about.
He went to 3, right? World Cups.
3 World Cups. Yeah, you're right. 3 World Cups. I mean, it's just this. But then you go with a backup goalkeeper who doesn't have all that. He's just in good form. And he went with a backup goalkeeper. We give up 3 goals in 15 minutes.
Oh, shit.
The 2, I mean, you just don't know how it's going to go.
Were the goals the goalkeeper's fault or defensive?
No, they weren't his fault. But still, like, would it have been different knowing that Tony was back there? And that unsettled us a little bit because before the game, we saw Tony crying, and
oh shit,
like it just throws you off, Whereas Bo would have been pissed, but Tony was probably the right call, all things considered, given his experience and his ability to step up in big games. That said, Bo earned that opportunity as well, so we were all kind of torn on who should start this game. And we just went with whoever the coach went with, but you could still feel the animosity and tension behind the scenes. And I don't think that helped us going into the final. And we ended up losing 3-2. Yeah.
And how was it with the U.S. national team? Like, because you're right there. You're the defender. You're in central defense. You're right. You're who the goalkeeper talks to. The goalkeeper's who you talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have to make a choice between, was it Brad Friedel at the time and
Casey Keller? Well, for me,
Casey?
it was I came in after that cycle, so I was more Casey Keller or Tim Howard. Was pretty much the choice, or Marcus Hanneman, who had played in the Premier League too with Fulham and some other clubs. Yeah, 3 great goalkeepers. Casey, at that time when I was in, was probably the clear number 1, and the other guys, Tim Howard hadn't emerged as Tim Howard just yet. He just made his move over to Manchester United and still trying to get his way. And I think maybe at that point he was establishing himself as the number 1 or moved over to Everton. I'm trying to get my timelines right. But he at the national team level, I feel like it's a little bit different because whoever you're playing with is usually really, really good. Not to say it didn't happen at the club level, but I don't know. I didn't feel as much of an attachment. I wasn't around the national team guys on a daily basis. You know, I mean, you'd see them every once in a while, but it was more of I'm just so happy to be on the national team. I don't care who I play with, you know?
Right.
But with the club, like, you obviously have developed relationships. You're grinding it out for 10 months. You know, you get to that final game, and that's where I saw the biggest goalkeeper controversy that I thought unsettled us a little bit. But national team, I didn't feel it as much.
Okay. Trying to see what else is. What do you think about Villa's chances next year, both of you, of staying up? And what do they have to do to stay up?
My number 1 thing, Martin, I'll jump in, is they got to keep Jack Grealish. I think that's really important. That'd be my number 1 thing for them. Yeah.
And Martin doesn't think Jack Grealish is that good because he watched one game where Grealish had a bad game.
No, here's my point.
So then he wanted to throw animal urine on him.
No, it's the same what it was with Martial before. You know, it's. I think he's good. He's really good. But I think, with Walcott, not with Martial. I think he's good. He's very good, but he's not as good as some people think.
Can I just stop you at that point? And I'm gonna let you. Do you know he created 52 chances, more than
every ball goes through him.
So what?
Every ball goes through Grealish on Aston Villa. Like,
I know he created 52 chances. That's more than De Bruyne.
Yeah, but nobody else does.
But how do you think? How is a player who created 52 chances not good?
No, he's good. I said he's good, but I don't think he's 100 million good. You know, it's like some people say that he's the next big thing. I see more in Foden actually than Grealish in terms of potential. I think Foden is a overall better player, and will be a better player than Grealish. But I think Grealish is a good player. He's a really good player. I don't know. I'm not sure if Grealish on a championship team, on like City, Liverpool, or United will be the same player, because first of all, he's holding the ball too much, in my opinion. You know, which he gets away with because he's the best player on the team, and he doesn't have to win every game. If you play on Liverpool or City, you have to win every game, and you have to provide passes, quick passes, like Silva did, like David Silva did. I don't know if Grealish can do that. I mean, maybe
he's a different type of player. But when that guy holds the ball, and we're talking about David Silva, he creates time and space, and that's a rare thing. And I watched him do that, like from the highlights, and I just watch a lot of Aston Villa games because a friend of mine is a Villa fan. Jimmy, you got to go soon.
I do.
Is there anything you want to talk about before you got to bounce, or?
No, I'm good, man. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I appreciate you guys having me on. Well,
thanks for coming on, man. Hopefully we'll have you back on soon, talk to you some more about your own personal career and what you're doing now. But it's a pleasure really having you. You're a fun guy. and I like what is it on your Twitter? You're like the most handsome defender in arguably the most handsome defender in U.S. history.
That's right, U.S. soccer history. That's me.
Soccer history.
Yeah, I mean, I put the arguably there. I make sure it's open for conversation.
Yeah, it's open for conversation. Yeah, you're not closed-minded. You're open.
No,
you want to hear what people feel about it.
That's it.
It's a tie between Jimmy and Jeff Cameron. It's a tie.
That's hilarious.
No, this has been great. Thank you, Martin and Ian. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you, brother. I'll see you around. All right.
All right, see you guys. See you, Aaron.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
So Martin, yeah. So
we're still on?
Yeah, we're still on. I just want to.
Yeah, let's say a few words about the one team we actually support together, and we're on the same page, which is Real Madrid, and Zidane, who everybody wanted to fire, winning another trophy. Yeah. Like he always wins. The guy always wins.
All he does is win, 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 win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Cristiano Ronaldo's breaking the scoring record in Italy in the age of 35. Another pretty impressive thing.
How many goals did he get this season?
I think he scored a 33 or something like that.
And that's the highest?
For Juventus, I think it's the highest. Ciro Immobile, I think overall in the league, scored one more or two more. But it's pretty impressive that he's 35 and he's not slowing down at all. He's not slowing down.
I know. I'm trying to how many goals did this Cristiano Ronaldo score this season? All right, let me see. Let me see this season thing. Ronaldo Juve third goal to his tally of 25 league this season, 4 behind Lazio forward Ciro Immobile, who leads the league in scoring. So he's 25.
No, but more than that. Let me see. Maybe if Italian Serie A scorers.
Let me see when this. Yeah, let's figure this out.
I'm checking on BBC website. 31 goals.
So did he lead the league? He beat Immobile?
No. Immobile is 34. But I think that's the best for you in Juve history. I think it's the best result for Juventus.
That's crazy that Juventus never had the highest. Doesn't have the player with the highest amount of goals in the history of whatchamacallit, because Juventus has so much success.
Yeah. But it's just Serie A is not a high goal scoring league. It wasn't in the past because you had the best defenders in the world playing in Italy. So.
All right, and Sarri, your boy Sarri has a title.
Yeah.
He finally has a title.
Yeah.
And just going back, what do you think happens if Arteta wins the FA Cup? That means he's won something.
That means, it means a lot because if he wins, there will be in the Europa League. If he loses, Wolverhampton are in the Europa League. So that's the implication.
All right, so they can.
There was a danger before the last round that it will be the Spurs in that position, and Arsenal, while winning, could kick out Tottenham out of the Europa League. But that's not the case anymore because we went past Wolverhampton on the last day. So now they have Wolverhampton's fate in their hands.
All right. Who do you think is going to win that game? Is that game this weekend?
Yeah, I think Chelsea will win.
Yeah, they have a better squad, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I know Arteta. I think the last time I think Arsenal played Chelsea and they played the wrong team. Like, he went back to Lacazette, Aubameyang, and Pepe. He didn't trust the young players, I think the young players are the ones that got the team to just turn around and get better results. So it all depends on who Arteta plays. But I think they have a really good chance to beat Chelsea.
Yeah, and both teams arguably have defensive problems.
Yeah, they both have the same problems.
It could be a lot of goals.
Yeah, it could be a lot of goals. So it's like, who has the best, worst defense wins this game. Yeah.
Arguably, the best defender from both teams is Rudiger. Arguably, he's the best defender from both teams.
Oh, yeah. He had a great pass this weekend. So a lot of things defenders are doing, like they're learning to play better football themselves and play the ball out the back. So he had a long-ass pass, like a Pogba style, or, this weekend, like he's like Trent Arnold style and the other guy from Liverpool making those crosses and those passes. Is there anything else you want to talk about to wrap this season up with the league?
No, just the last thing I'll mention, that MLS tournament is right now in the playoffs. So it's they show all the games on national TV. You know, there's some good games. It didn't start very well. The first week was kind of a disaster. Now it's much better. It improved. You know.
Shout out to Seth and the MLS.
Yeah.
And LAFC.
LAFC
still in there?
Playing tonight.
Okay, who they playing?
They're playing. Actually, it's a single elimination game. It's to advance to the quarterfinals. I'll tell you in a second who they play. They play tonight. So if you listen to this podcast, you probably know the result. They play Seattle, so it's a revenge for the conference finals last year.
Oh, cool. I'm just going to run through the tables. This is the last time. This is week 38, and this is how the Premiership ended up. Liverpool, champions, 99 points, and they are the champions at the top of the table. First time in 30 years. They won the league. First time they've ever won the Premiership. And congratulations, Liverpool. Man City was second with 81 points, which is not bad. You know, 81 points is a decent number, but it was only good enough to get them second. Manchester United, I can't believe I'm saying that, is right behind Man City, especially after the season started the way it started, especially the middle of the season. But we pulled it together. And we are third with 66 points, which is a huge drop-off from 81 points. So that's how much we need to improve next season. Chelsea is fourth with 66 points. Also, I guess we beat them on goal difference or head-to-head. What is this? Maybe it's goal difference. Let me pull back up. Goals for... Yeah, Chelsea let in a lot of goals. How about that?
Yep.
Chelsea let in 54 goals. Jesus. So,
no, they have to fix it. And Kepa was horrific for them,
Yeah. You have to go down to Southampton in 11th to find a worse goals let in than Chelsea. You know what I mean? So that's for a team to come in that high in the table and to let in that amount of goals. That's a decent amount. Leicester finished fifth, and they have 62 points. You know, I think Leicester's issue is that they need depth, and they better not or try to avoid selling players, key players that they need when they already have a lack of depth in preseason. So let's see if Brendan Rodgers can hold on to his players. What do you think of his chances of holding on to his players?
I mean, he'll hold on to Vardy, who is 33 and the oldest, best goal scorer in the league.
Yeah, congratulations, Vardy, baby. You did it.
Yeah.
Oldest golden boot.
I don't think they'll keep Chilwell. I think Chilwell will go to City. That's the rumor. Because, Cancelo didn't pay out, so they want to buy Chilwell instead.
Right.
There are 2 or 3 players that might actually go somewhere. I think Madison but he kind of tailed off in the second part of the season, so maybe not. Schmeichel, if somebody wants to buy, listen, that would be a good move for Man U. If you don't trust Henderson, buy Schmeichel. He's the son of a Man U legend. He's a great keeper.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He is pretty good.
Very
how old? I got to find out how old he is now.
For keepers, doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Tottenham is 6, 59 points, right behind Leicester. So I have hope for you guys next season, based on how the season ended with Mourinho. So I give you that.
Yeah. We need to buy a few people, but it's okay.
Yeah. Wolves 7th with 59 points. They have so much potential. Traore, imagine him next year, not after the growth he's had this year. And Podence, another Portuguese player who we started to see after this during Project Restart, and he's a good midfielder, man. Create some damage for people. Arsenal is 8th with 56 points. They're vying for the FA Cup. Sheffield United, 54 points. They are 9th. Burnley, 10th with 54 points. Southampton, 11th with 52 points. That's Lee's team. Good job, Southampton. Good for Southampton. Everton is 12th with 49 points. Okay. Ancelotti's got a lot of work to do. What do you think?
He does. They didn't end the season well at all.
Right. Yeah. They kind of limped it in. Newcastle is 13th with 44 points. Bruce did a good job, but now we don't know if this sale is going to go through.
Yeah. Such a tough one for Bruce. I've actually listened to some stories that's his childhood dream to be at Newcastle, first as a player and then as a manager, and fans didn't kind of welcome him that well, and he delivered. He had pretty much the same or maybe one less or one more number of points as Benitez did, who was like beloved and everybody was saying how great job he did. And Bruce,
they also sold their best player.
Yeah, and Bruce with the same team or even maybe worse team did exactly the same, and he didn't get enough praise. And then they want to fire him. So it's a kind of double standard.
Yeah, for sure. And also, Bruce brought some younger players through, and found some gems. So that's good coaching. Yeah. Crystal Palace is 14th with 43 points. You think Roy Hodgson's got a job next season, or are they going to let him go and try to really build?
Depends what they want. I mean, if they stay up, there wasn't a problem for them to stay up.
Right.
Really.
Next is Brighton Hove with 41 points. I did want them to go down, but they're here. They made it. West Ham 16th with 39 points. Mikel Antonio saved the day several times, scored a bunch of goals towards the end of the season, so West Ham stays up. Aston Villa is alive, number 17, 35 points, skin of their teeth, just made it, right above Bournemouth in 18th, Watford in 19th, and Norwich in 20th. Goodbye, Norwich. It was a good, long-ass year, but you out. And we'll see some of your players in the Premier League this year, for sure, or this upcoming season. So, any last words on the Premier League, bro? What you looking forward to now? Champions League, Europa League?
Champions League for sure, definitely. And the season will have a quick turnaround because I listened to Lukas Fabianski, the West Ham keeper, who said that they have 3 weeks. They got 3 weeks vacation, and they have to go back to training. Which is the interesting fact is that he's got some players from Latin American countries, and they're not allowed to go because you have in UK you have 2 weeks of quarantine if you go to South America. Right. So some players are very upset because they might just go for like 2-3 days to see their families, and then quarantine back in England
for 14 days. Yeah.
So it's a quick turnaround for sure, and for some players it will be a problem. They won't see their families at all.
When are the Europa League games? Let me kind of Google that.
By the way, right now San Jose plays Salt Lake in this MLS playoffs, and you know who's on the bench of Real Salt Lake? Your former Man U player, Giuseppe Rossi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It says they gave me the Champions League. I want Europa League. No, this is Europa League. Wednesday, August 5th. So is that week after next? Let me see. So it ain't this week, next week. So they jump right into it.
Wolverhampton can still win it. So
yeah, Wolverhampton can win it. Man U could win it. You know. Yeah, they start next week, Wednesday.
Right. But if Wolverhampton wins it, they'll be in the Champions League. So.
Yeah, but Man U's gonna win it, so we don't have to worry about that. Why are you laughing, bro? Just keep it real. What's gonna happen is gonna happen. All right, so yeah, man, that's it pretty much.
That's it.
It's been. What do you think of the season overall? And COVID and just everything. Black Lives Matter.
I mean, Black Lives Matter, sure. I mean, it has to happen. and it will continue to happen. But yeah, I mean, the pandemic thing, if it's long term like that, it's gonna be painful. I mean, good, we've watched some football. It's good that we were kind of busy with games where there's nothing else going on. But if that's the case for another year, then it will be painful eventually. Yeah.
Yeah. What would be painful? The no fans in the stands?
No fans in the stands, and yeah, definitely. It changes the game. It does.
Yeah, definitely changes the game. I thought it was a good season.
It changes the whole experience.
Right.
Plus, I also want to go to stadiums and watch games at stadiums. I want to, So.
Right. We'll see what happens. Also, congratulations, Leighton Baines. He's bouncing from Everton, longtime player. I think he played for them like 13 years. Good, dutiful servant. So congratulations on your retirement. Enjoy. For me, the season was, I'm a Man U fan, so I summed the season up entirely for the whole league based on how Man U did and how much they've grown and the potential for the upcoming season. So I grade the season on how Man U's doing. So crowd or no crowd, I'm glad we are where we're at. And there's one thing that Gary Neville said that was one of the smartest things I've ever heard somebody say in regards to football. And they asked him on one of these shows, like, what do you think Man U should do in the offseason? He said, improve the starting 11. Like, don't buy, like, I was thinking like buying backup players for the starting 11. But he's thinking like, no, get players who will put some members of the starting 11 on the bench and then have them as your bench. And I'm like, that is a better idea. So you're just automatically just getting better by the pieces that you buy. Like, instead of just looking at this Manchester United 11 that went on this run since Project Restart as the team, like, make that team better. So I think that's a great way to look at it. Yeah, so whatever, that's why I'm all in on Jordan Sancho, even though Greenwood is doing great and he's young. So I'm all in on that. Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, I'm sneezing. Yeah, we'll find out if it's corona in a few days. Don't worry about it.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. We'll see what happens. All right. So, all right. I guess that's it. Thanks for everybody tagging along. We'll still probably do the podcast next week, and or maybe give it a week and then get into Europa League. We'll see. Just tune in. Love you. Be safe, everybody. Martin, thank you for coming through.
Thank you.
And and thank you for our producer, Aaron Brungardt, and All Things Comedy. Peace, love, be safe, smart. One. We out.